Hello.
Hello.
Your name?
My name is Stacie.
Hi, Stacie.
I'm Brandiy.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So what brings you here today?
Well, I'm here today because I am just having some problems with my anger. And it's not like I have an anger problem, like a normal anger problem. It's more like I get mad and I say things I don't want to say, and it's to people that I care about or work with. It's like relationships that I need to do a better job at handling how I say what I say, instead of like when I get mad, I just say things and then I regret them later on.
Okay. So I hear you say that you're having trouble with expressing yourself when you're angry to people that you care about.
That's a perfect way to put it. Yes.
Okay. Who are some of these people that you're having trouble expressing your anger to?
My son at home, my coworkers.
Okay.
Okay, so usually that was my son and my coworkers.
Okay. So is it just your son and your coworkers, or?
Yeah, because it's usually like maybe I'm letting stuff build up, or it's around a certain situation. It's not like, say, I'm in a grocery store and somebody takes the last bag of bread.
Mm-hmm.
It's not stuff like that.
Okay.
It's more like things that I may let fester and bother me. Like I say, well, that's not a big deal. That's not a big deal. But then I realize it must be a big deal because I find myself angry and I didn't even know that I was that angry until after I've said what I've said.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is you're letting a lot of things build up with these people. Okay, you said some of the anger with your son surrounds some things that you let fester and build up at home. But what are some things that your son does at home that makes you angry to that point?
I think it's things like maybe if he knows what his chores are. If I have to remind him at his age, I don't think I should have to remind him of his chores. So I might be in a good mood that day and I might let it go. But then before I know it, I'll find myself going off on it the next time it happens. And I feel like, well, that's not really fair of me. That's inconsistent. But at the same time, sometimes I'm just like back and forth. I'm not consistent on that. And so when I get angry, I'm guessing it's like what you said. It must be that maybe it really is bothering me and I don't go off at the moment. But deep down, I think that he should have taken care of it. So.
Okay, how old is your son?
At 17.
He's 17. Okay. Does he have a list of chores that he knows he's supposed to do at home? Or is it just certain things that you ask of him or expect him to do?
It's both. I kind of expect him to do whatever I ask, whenever I ask, just because he doesn't have a lot of demands. He does have chores that he does, but they're not a lot. And they're not written down, but he knows what they are because we've had the conversation of what his responsibilities are every week.
Okay. And we're going to touch on your coworkers as well, but right now with your son, I want to try and go over some things that you could probably do with him just to have a little bit more organization as far as what he needs to do at home.
Okay.
And it could probably help him, have a better regimen. And in that case, it would help you as well control some of that anger that you're having towards him. Have you ever thought about actually writing or typing out a list for him and posting it in the house?
I've thought about it, but I just thought at his age it seems a little juvenile, but I guess it's not now that you mentioned it. When I think about it, I have to-do lists, and I guess in a sense that's no different, even though it's the same thing most of the time, still, I guess, a visual
Exactly.
could help him out.
Exactly, because most of the time we do better when we can actually see things that we know we have to do versus, oh, okay, I know I have to do this, I'll get to it later. And being that he is a teenager, and in our minds we automatically think, oh, well, he should know that. But sometimes it just helps to organize and let him have it right in front of him. And sometimes he can even mark it off. Mark off things that he's done. That way, it's been done. And you can see it's been done. He knows it's been done, and it could help with some of that frustration that you're dealing with him. Aside from his chores, are there any other things that your son may do that causes you to become angry in that manner that you can think of?
Sometimes in the mornings when he's slow to get up, and I've told him to set his alarm, and sometimes I actually hear the alarm, but he's sleeping right through it, and I don't know if that is frustrating sometimes because I think he's staying up later than he should. And I used to take his phone and laptop away at night just to make him go to bed. But we talked about that, and I gave him the benefit of the doubt with his age, and I don't physically take it, but I'll tell him what time to go to bed. And I think he honors that most of the time, but I'm not going to stay up and police him because I have to get up and go to work, and I have to get up and do things. So he's a pretty honest kid, but I think that, he obviously needs more rest than he's getting. And so I don't know. I don't know if that's something that I'm doing as a parent, but I sometimes get angry when he's really slow in the mornings because I think this is a pattern that there should be some way to not have to repeat this.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is basically you feel like at this point in time at his age, you shouldn't have to be repeating yourself and saying certain things in the morning like, it's time to go. Mm-hmm. It's time to wake up.
Right.
You need to get ready.
Right.
You're moving too slow.
Right.
Things of that nature. Have you had this conversation with your son?
I have.
You have?
I have.
And what was his response to you?
Okay. I think he,
Okay.
yes, I think we're just seeing it differently because he's a teenager. I don't think he understands that I'm seeing his future basically, which is probably premature of me, but as a parent we have those fears.
Right.
We have, and I guess I just kind of struggle with parenting a teenager at this age who is so close to the point where I think he needs natural consequences and that he needs that independence to learn, but then at the same time, if it's not working and it's frustrating me, there's a problem.
I'm not sure as far as grounding him and how that would work at this point in time because usually after a certain age it becomes a bit redundant. But some consequences that you could, I guess, put in front of him that could seem a bit extreme. And I know this sounds a bit odd, but let him see some of the extreme consequences of possibilities in his future. I'm not exactly sure how to present it to him. There may be some homework that me and you both will have to work on as far as presenting it to him. But I think another conversation with your son about some of the things that he's doing would definitely be something that is important and would do some good, because a lot of times with teenagers, you have to be repetitive. They don't understand. They don't really see those consequences that could be a lot of times it's just like, oh, okay, mom is just upset. She's just talking. It's going to be okay. But some of those consequences need to be put in front of them. As far as your coworkers, what are some issues with them that cause you to become angry?
Well, it's really, with them, it's not as much as the anger as it is, maybe just my communication skills. Sometimes I word things, and I don't think there's a problem, but then, you know, a friend will come back and say, that was kind of rude. Like, I'm blunt. So it's not really anger in that sense. And it's not always anger with my son. I think sometimes I'm blunt and I don't see anything wrong with what I'm saying, but then if I get somebody else's opinion, they say, yeah, that was kind of rude or harsh.
Okay.
So
From what I'm hearing, basically, you're very overt in how you express yourself to others at times, and you don't mean to be mean, but it just comes out that way.
that is true.
Okay. Okay. So what are some things that you may say to others at work that may come out rude according to them?
Well, try to think of a specific example.
Is it about their performance at work, or is it having to do with just day-to-day
Yeah,
interactions?
just day to day, not really their performance. Like, it's stuff to me that's really, really subtle. Because, like, I wouldn't talk to anybody about their performance because I know that that's rude. But this is stuff that I like. When people tell me it's rude, I'm surprised. Like, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was rude.
So what I'm
Just-
hearing is it's your opinion on certain things, and they just
I never thought of that. Yeah, that's probably what it is.
okay. And some things that you could possibly do in that way is have them state some direct things that you say to them that may sound rude, that you don't feel is rude.
Oh,
Just so that you can hear it coming from them.
Right.
Like, state what I've said to you that's rude, or that you feel is rude.
that is a very good idea.
And that way you can maybe change your word and make it a little bit more friendly
Okay.
in their eyes.
Okay.
Because you don't know if they don't tell you.
Right.
So maybe if they can restate some things that you say to them, then you will understand it better.
I like that idea.
Other than at work, because it sounds like it's just them misunderstanding your opinion on things. It doesn't sound like it's really anger
Yeah.
that you're expressing to them. Are there any things that they do to like enrage you that causes you to become angry and like show anger? Or is it just statements that you've made that they take the wrong way?
Actually, they don't. It's usually like a friend, coworker, a particular friend, coworker that usually tells me that, you know, that I was rude. They don't usually say anything themselves, but I don't want it to get to that point to where they would. So I like your idea of, like, I could just ask my friend to tell me, yeah, or we could even maybe role play. Like, I would like to hear it.
Because it helps. Because you don't, like I said, you don't know what you're doing wrong until somebody actually presents it to you. So maybe if you hear some of the things that you've said, then you can rephrase them or, you know, change them to make whoever feel a little more comfortable. But aside from that, there are no serious anger issues, is what I'm hearing.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay.
And I hate to seem like we're bouncing back and forth, but I'd like to go back to the issues with your son. Something that I feel would be a good idea is for you to start listing some things that he's done or that he does that triggers certain anger moments with you. And the thing is, when you know your triggers, then you can pull back. You can go in a calm place and try to, keep from reacting and confronting him at that time, because when you confront and you react in the anger, usually things come out wrong and they come out a bit hurtful. And you said you don't want to hurt him. From my understanding, I'm hearing you don't want to hurt him.
Correct.
You want him to correct some of the things that he's doing wrong, but you don't want to hurt his feelings at the same time.
Exactly.
So if you write some things down, it'll help you, like I said, recognize the trigger points.
Okay.
And you can kind of go to a calm place before you actually go to him and try to address that. And I feel like you need to address things with your son, because if you don't, it's going to continue. And you don't want things to continue to fester and take you to that place. But for our next session, I would like you to bring some of those things in, and we can go over them as well.
Okay.
And we can come up with a way to approach your son with it.
Okay.
Because I feel, like I said, you should approach him,
Okay.
but it needs to be in a manner that's not hurtful. Because a lot of times, when you approach someone and it's hurtful, they rebel, and it becomes worse.
Okay.
It's like, you don't care about me, and the last thing you want is for him to feel like you don't care about his feelings.
Right.
Do you feel that if you wrote a list out to acknowledge some of your trigger points, that it would be beneficial?
I do think that would be beneficial, probably just as much for me as for him.
Okay. Well, we're gonna wrap some things up.
Okay.
Of course, like I said, the list of trigger points with your son is definitely one that I want you to bring back in. As far as your coworkers go, the role playing, I feel would be an awesome thing. Same difference. If there becomes a time where you feel like they're getting to a point where they are angering you in a certain way, write those things down. Trigger points. You always want to recognize your trigger points, and that way you'll know how to handle them as well. Other than I feel like we've kind of covered some things that you've been having trouble with. Is there anything else?
No, I like those ideas that you've given me. It's really, even just sitting here, it's kind of put it into a different perspective for me. And so I think with both my coworkers and my son, I have a new way to approach how to figure out correcting some of my behaviors.
Well, I'm glad that we could address some of those things today. And when you come back in, like I said, we'll go over those things and we'll.
Okay. So I'm just going to check my understanding, okay? Because I want to make sure that I got everything. I'm going to write down my trigger points.
Yes.
For the things that my son does that make me get angry, and then I'm going to ask specifically my friend who usually tells me that I'm rude, that to kind of restate some things that I've said so that I can hear it.
Yes.
And okay, that's it.
Yes. And if there are any other things at your workplace with your coworkers that do trigger you to become angry, write those things down as well. Okay. So you can address everything.
Okay. Okay. All right, that's gonna be helpful.
Okay. Well, it was nice seeing you, Stacie,
Nice to see you.
and we will see you next week.
Okay,
All right.
all right. Thank you.
Thank you.